The Ten Rings. The Ten Rings are one of the oldest and most mysterious forces in the Marvel Universe. Long before Tony Stark ever became Iron Man, the Ten Rings had already been shaping history from the shadows. Founded and led by Wenwu, this organization spanned centuries. With the power of the mystical Ten Rings themselves, Wenwu created an empire that toppled dynasties, destabilized governments, and rewrote the course of nations, all without leaving fingerprints. Their first appearance in the MCU came in Iron Man, when they kidnapped Tony Stark in Afghanistan. At first, they looked like just another terrorist cell, but that was only a fraction of their true scope. What seemed local was actually global. The Ten Ring symbol had appeared in the background of multiple films, hinting at their invisible influence across continents. Unlike Hydra, who thrived by infiltrating other institutions, the Ten Rings thrived by remaining untouchable. They didn't embed themselves into governments, they bent governments too. But their story takes a turn. For the first time, we see the human cost of Wenwu's empire, his children, Shang-Chi and Xialing, both shaped and scarred by his control. When Wenwu fell, the Ten Rings didn't disappear. Instead, Xialing took the throne, promising a new era. And if history teaches us anything, the Ten Rings are never truly gone, only reborn. S.H.I.E.L.D. Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division is the backbone of Marvel's world of espionage. On the surface, it looks like a government agency dedicated to keeping Earth safe from extraordinary threats, but it's more than that. S.H.I.E.L.D. was created after World War II, inspired by the Howling Commandos and the fight against Hydra. With Nick Fury as its most famous director, S.H.I.E.L.D. became the organization that tied together superheroes, governments, and secret projects across the globe. They're the ones who recruited Tony Stark, kept tabs on Thor's hammer, and assembled the Avengers Initiative. But behind the shiny jets and futuristic tech, S.H.I.E.L.D. is complicated. Their surveillance methods bordered on authoritarian, and their projects like Project Insight proved how close they came to controlling rather than protecting the world. Even their greatest strength, information, became their downfall. The shocking twist? Hydra had embedded itself so deeply inside S.H.I.E.L.D. that for decades, the agency wasn't protecting humanity. It was a puppet. When the truth came out in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, S.H.I.E.L.D. crumbled overnight. What was once Earth's greatest shield became its biggest liability. And this collapse proved one thing. Sometimes the heroes aren't the ones pulling the strings. It's the villains hiding within. Hydra. Hydra's story is one of persistence, secrecy, and sheer terror. Born in World War II as the Nazi science division under Johann Schmidt, the Red Skull, Hydra was obsessed with power. Their motto,
"If they cut off one head, two more shall take its place,"
wasn't just a slogan, it was a strategy. Whenever you thought Hydra was gone, they re-emerged stronger, more dangerous, and more deeply entrenched. Their obsession with advanced weaponry, powered by the Tesseract, gave them an edge during the war. But Hydra's true genius came later. Infiltration. They didn't just fight enemies, they became them. By the time Steve Rogers woke up in the modern era, Hydra wasn't hiding in a mountain base or a bunker. They were inside S.H.I.E.L.D. itself. Senators, generals, agents, all compromised. Alexander Pierce, one of Fury's most trusted allies, turned out to be Hydra's ringleader. Even Bucky Barnes, Captain America's best friend, was twisted into a brainwashed assassin under their control. This wasn't about soldiers anymore, it was about ideology. Hydra believed that humanity could only survive under total control, and they came frighteningly close to achieving it with Project Insight, a plan to wipe out anyone who threatened their vision of order. Hydra represents Marvel's darkest idea, that the enemy isn't always outside your gates. Sometimes it's sitting at your table, wearing your uniform, and smiling in your face. And that makes them one of the most terrifying organizations in the Marvel Universe. The Red Room/Black Widow program. Not all secret organizations need armies or cosmic weapons. Some create their power one person at a time. The Red Room, hidden deep within Soviet intelligence, was exactly that. It was less an agency and more a factory for assassins. Girls, often taken at a young age, were stripped of identity, brainwashed, and rebuilt into living weapons under the infamous Black Widow program. Natasha Romanoff is the most famous graduate, but she was far from the only one. Yelena Belova, Melina Vostokov, and countless unnamed women were victims of the same brutal conditioning. Their training went far beyond martial arts. It was psychological warfare, designed to erase empathy and loyalty, leaving only obedience. Some iterations of the program even involved forced sterilization, ensuring the widows could never have families that might distract them from their missions. The Red Room's influence reached far into global politics. Their assassins could topple governments, eliminate leaders, and sow chaos, all without leaving a trace. It was a nightmare because it proved that sometimes the greatest threats aren't super soldiers or alien invaders. They're humans stripped of humanity. In Black Widow, we finally see the Red Room's collapse. Natasha and Yelena dismantle the program, freeing its operatives from control. But even in its destruction, the scars remain. The Red Room represents one of Marvel's darkest truths, that the most dangerous weapon is not a bomb or a serum, but a person who has been taught to feel nothing. The TVA, Time Variance Authority. The Time Variance Authority, first revealed in Loki, exists outside the flow of normal reality. Their mission? To prune branches of the timeline and maintain what they call the sacred timeline. At first, they appear bureaucratic, even absurd, an endless office space filled with paperwork, retro technology, and TVA agents enforcing cosmic order. But underneath the quirky aesthetic lies authoritarian control over existence itself. The TVA didn't just arrest Loki for breaking the timeline, they revealed that countless variants, people across infinite realities, had been quietly erased in the name of order. And behind it all? Not the Timekeepers as they claimed, but He Who Remains, a variant of Kang the Conqueror. Suddenly, the TVA wasn't just about trimming timelines, it was about keeping Kang's power intact. The TVA represents a question bigger than any super soldier or spy agency. Is free will real or just an illusion allowed by those in power? And as Loki discovered, if the TVA can erase entire worlds, who really gets to decide what counts as sacred? A.I.M, aka Advanced Idea Mechanics. A.I.M might sound like just another group of scientists, but in Marvel, they're proof that brains can be just as dangerous as brawn. Founded as a collective of brilliant but morally bankrupt inventors, A.I.M is obsessed with technological advancement at any cost. Their motto could easily be innovation without limits. They've designed weapons, armor, viruses, and machines that rival anything Tony Stark could dream up. In the MCU, we see a glimpse of them through Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3, whose extremist project turned soldiers into living weapons. What makes A.I.M terrifying is their neutrality. They aren't driven by ideology like Hydra or survival like the Nova Corps. They're driven by curiosity, profit, and ego. That means their loyalty can be bought, and their inventions can end up in anyone's hands. A.I.M represents Marvel's warning about unchecked scientific ambition. Technology is power, and in the wrong hands, it doesn't just create weapons, it creates nightmares. Department of Damage Control, DODC. The Department of Damage Control might sound harmless. After all, their job is to clean up after superhero battles. But don't be fooled. The DODC is one of the most quietly unsettling organizations in Marvel. First introduced in Spider-Man Homecoming, they were created as a joint venture between Stark Industries and the US government to manage alien technology and debris left behind after events like the Battle of New York. At first, they seemed like janitors for the Avengers, sweeping up rubble and confiscating Chitauri weapons. But over time, their power grew. By the time we see them again in Ms. Marvel, the DODC isn't just cleaning up, they're surveilling communities, raiding homes, and using advanced tech to intimidate anyone with powers. The irony of the DODC is that while they exist to protect civilians, they often end up being the antagonists, clashing with young heroes like Kamala Khan or Spider-Man. Their ability to seize alien artifacts and study them puts them in a unique position. They're one of the few organizations with access to tech even Tony Stark couldn't replicate. The DODC represents a very real-world fear, that when governments gain access to advanced technology, oversight disappears, and ordinary people suffer. They don't wear masks or wield cosmic powers, but in many ways they're more dangerous because they're hiding behind legality. The Illuminati, Earth-838. Secret councils aren't new in Marvel, but none are as powerful or as controversial as the Illuminati. On Earth-838, revealed in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the Illuminati was a shadow council of the universe's most powerful leaders. Their members included Charles Xavier, Reed Richards, Black Bolt, Captain Carter, Captain Marvel, and Baron Mordo. Together, they acted as judge, jury, and executioner for their reality. What makes the Illuminati fascinating is their arrogance. They truly believed they knew what was best for the multiverse. They executed their own Doctor Strange after he endangered reality.
I'm sorry.
They kept secrets even from the heroes they supposedly protected. And when Scarlet Witch invaded their world, their downfall was swift, proving that even the most powerful can crumble in seconds. The Illuminati raises one of Marvel's most unsettling questions. What happens when the smartest people in the room decide they're the only ones who should make decisions? Their collapse in Multiverse of Madness wasn't just shocking, it was a warning about unchecked power, even in the hands of supposed heroes. Val's secret network, the Thunderbolts. Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, or simply Val, may not have a flashy army or alien tech yet, but make no mistake, she's building something dangerous. First introduced in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Val slithered onto the scene as a shadowy recruiter. She approached John Walker after he was stripped of the Captain America title, later recruited Yelena Belova in Black Widow, and hinted at a growing roster of operatives working off the books. Val's power isn't in brute force, it's in connections. She's carving out her own covert ops team, often called the Thunderbolts in Marvel lore. Unlike the Avengers, who fight in the open, Val's network operates in the gray areas. Black Ops missions, political manipulation, and morally ambiguous tasks that governments don't want their fingerprints on. In comics, Val has an even darker history. Once a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, she turned out to be a double agent working for Hydra under the name Madame Hydra. That history casts a shadow over her every move in the MCU. Is she working for herself, for a government, or for something much worse? Her growing influence shows Marvel's shift toward a darker, morally complex era. Heroes who aren't quite heroes, villains who aren't quite villains. Val is pulling the strings, and the scariest part is, we still don't know her endgame. The Avengers save the world. Val's team might just control it. Nova Corps / Xandarian Worldmind. The Nova Corps might not seem secret at first. After all, they're the official intergalactic police force of Xandar. But in reality, their true strength and secrecy lie in the Worldmind, a vast artificial intelligence that stores the collective knowledge, history, and even personalities of the Nova Corps' fallen. Think of it as the brain behind the badge, guiding and sometimes controlling the Corps itself. We first meet the Nova Corps in Guardians of the Galaxy, where they represent order in a chaotic galaxy. They helped imprison Ronan the Accuser and briefly safeguarded the Power Stone. But while they look like a typical space military, the truth is stranger. The Worldmind can directly empower individuals, creating Novas with abilities that rival even Earth's strongest heroes. Their secrecy comes from their cosmic perspective. To Earth, they're practically invisible. To the galaxy, they're protectors who rarely reveal the extent of their power. And yet, Thanos destroyed Xandar off-screen before Infinity War, wiping out much of their ranks. That leaves the question, what happened to the Worldmind? Did it survive, hidden and waiting for a new Nova to rise? The Nova Corps represents the larger truth of Marvel's universe. While Earth is caught up in Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D., there are cosmic powers operating far above our understanding. And when they return, it won't be quietly.